You know, in the world of tech, some years just change everything. And for AI, 2025 was that year. This is when OpenAI went from being, the company that makes ChatGPT to becoming the architect of the next massive software platform. So let's dive in and break down exactly how they pulled off this incredible power play.
Okay, let's just start with this number. $500 billion plus. By October 2025, this was OpenAI's valuation. It had all of Silicon Valley just buzzing. I mean, think about it. $500 billion for a company that was basically a nonprofit research lab just a few years before. It's absolutely staggering.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did they build a $500 billion empire in just 1 year? Well, it wasn't just one magic bullet. It was this perfectly executed three-part strategy. We're talking a new brain, a new engine, and a whole new ecosystem. Let's get into the playbook. All right, first up, the brain. Everything, and I mean everything, started with their core technology. The new brain here was the GPT-5 series. And this wasn't just an upgrade. It set a completely new bar for what we thought machine intelligence could be.
And we're not just talking about it getting a little better at writing your emails or something. No, the real leap, the game changer, was that it started with PhD-level reasoning. The breakthrough was its ability to think through these incredibly complex problems. We're talking problems that could stump and in some cases even be surpassed by human experts.
Okay, this chart right here really tells the whole story. What you're looking at is something called the GPQBA benchmark. Think of it as a test full of PhD-level science questions that are specifically designed to be super hard even for human experts. Now look at that bar on the far left. That's GPT-5 Pro. With its thinking process, it's hitting almost 90% accuracy. It just blows past all the previous models. This is the hard data, the proof of that massive leap in reasoning we were just talking about.
And it wasn't just that it got smarter. The improvements were literally across the board. Look at this. GPT-5 Pro was 5 times faster than GPT-4. And maybe even more important, its hallucination rate. That's the fancy term for when an AI just makes stuff up. That dropped by a whopping 45%. This was what made it truly reliable enough for serious, big-time business use.
And the speed at which they were doing this was just relentless. Check out this timeline. They released the base GPT-5 model in August. Okay, fine. But then just 2 months later, at their big Dev Day conference, bam, they announced the Pro version, a 5 times performance boost in just a matter of weeks. It was this crazy fast pace that really set the stage for what they were going to do next.
So they've got this incredible new brain. What's next? Well, they introduced the new engine to go with it, AgentKit. And this was the moment everything changed. It was the strategic pivot from an AI that just answers your questions to an AI that's an active, autonomous worker that actually does things. So what is AgentKit? The key thing to understand is that it's a framework. It's a toolbox, basically. It gives developers the power to build AI agents that don't just give you information, but can actually execute tasks. We're talking about scheduling your meetings, analyzing complex data, connecting different pieces of software together, all by themselves. It's what turned AI into, well, the operating system for business.
The difference here is just fundamental. Before, you had AI as an assistant. You had to tell it exactly what to do. It would answer your questions, give you information. But now you have AI as an agent. It executes complex tasks, it orchestrates different apps, and it works autonomously. You don't have to hold its hand. I love this analogy because it just captures the shift perfectly. It's the difference between asking a librarian for a single fact and hiring them to go research, write, and publish an entire book for you. That's the leap we're talking about. The AI is no longer just a source of information, it's a digital worker.
Okay, so we have the brain, we have the engine, now for the final and maybe most brilliant piece of the puzzle. With those two things in place, OpenAI went ahead and built an entire ecosystem around them. And in doing so, they directly challenged the biggest names in tech and basically kicked off the next great platform war.
So how'd they do it? They launched what they called apps in ChatGPT. Think about this. Instead of you having to leave ChatGPT to go use Canva or Zapier, ChatGPT could now run those tools for you right inside the chat. It became this super intelligent app store that just figures out the right tool for the job and uses it. And for developers, this gave them instant access to, just over 800 million weekly users. Huge.
And this right here, this is the checkmate move. I mean, think about it. Why would you go to your phone's home screen and hunt for an app if ChatGPT can just find and use the right one for you automatically? This became a direct and very serious long-term threat to the whole App Store model that companies like Apple and Google rely on. Suddenly, ChatGPT was positioning itself as the new hub for, well, for everything you do with software.
Okay, but if you're going to declare war on the biggest companies in the world, you better have some serious firepower and some strong walls. So let's talk about how OpenAI built the moat around its new empire. And it all starts with just the mind-boggling scale of their success.
First up, the money. By the end of 2025, they were on a run rate for an absolutely incredible $13 billion in annual revenue.
And where did that come from? Well, it was driven by a massive user base that had ballooned to 800 million weekly active users.
And it wasn't just everyday people either. They got deep into the enterprise, with over 1 million business customers integrating these AI tools right into their core workflows.
Now, when you have numbers like that, the investment community notices. And boy, did they notice. This success attracted a record-shattering $40 billion investment, led by SoftBank. That's the market screaming its confidence.
But you know, the really genius moves weren't just about cashing checks. They were about securing the entire stack. First, they locked in their partnership with Microsoft all the way out to 2032, guaranteeing they'd have the raw computing power they needed from Azure. Then, and this was crucial, they signed a massive deal with AMD. This not only secured their hardware supply, but super importantly, it reduced their reliance on NVIDIA right in the middle of the escalating AI chip wars. They were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
So, okay, they've built this unstoppable software platform. The empire is secure. Where in the world do you go from there? Well, the answer seems to be beyond our screens and into the physical world around us.
And this is the vision that started to leak out reportedly from their big collaboration with the legendary designer Jony Ive. The goal wasn't just to build another phone. The vision was for a discrete digital companion, something that would integrate AI into our lives in a totally seamless way.
So what does that even mean? Well, the core idea, the vision, is for something totally screenless. It's a voice-first device. It's what you might call ambient intelligence, something that's just there in the background, helping you proactively without bearing you notifications. And critically, they're reportedly designing it with a privacy-first mindset, which is going to be absolutely essential for a device that's basically always on. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question, doesn't it? Are we witnessing the end of the smartphone? I mean, if 2025 was the year OpenAI built a new operating system for software, then it seems like their next chapter is all about building the successor to the smartphone itself. We really might be looking back at this moment as the beginning of the end for the device, for the whole computing paradigm that has defined our lives for the past 2 decades.